Mikey.
it is done by your command. We are there. Good morning, New York, Vinnie. He's in Seattle. It's a
Good morning,
freaky
Michael
fractious.
Knight.
It's a freaky
He's down
fractious
in
Friday.
Pasadena. How
Yep.
are you, pal?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How about you?
I'm worth. I'm feeling like $100,000.
Cash or
Uh,
promissory note?
well, no, 10% to that. Oh no, it's 200,000. 10% is 20,000. I'm feeling like $20,000.
Yeah, Biff Jiggerman's bail bonds right down the road from the Fulton County Jail. He's doing land off his business. Mr. Giuliani, if you can just wait for a moment, the president's coming in.
What is it with these guys using the bail? I mean, there is maybe I mean, I have to think that they all have. Trump. I mean, you got to think he's got $20,000.
You know, Vinny, he's cash poor at this moment. Got lots of dough, got many accounts floating, got transfers going on everywhere, got fundraising at all times. But he had to gas up the Trump plane to get there, and that took all his available walking around money.
He
He had
had
to
no
get he had to get some more.
cash. I got nothing. Walt, could you tip him for me, please? I'll give it back to you when we get back to the office.
Yes, Mr. Trump.
Walt, could you go to the bathroom for me, please? I'll get it. Now, you know what, Mikey? I use a term, and I've used it over the years, and you've heard it. You've often laughed at it. Spank boy.
The Spank boy. Could you define the term, please?
Yes, Walt Nauta. That's your spank boy. That is that guy, Trump's valet, Trump's what do they call him now? A body man. That's what they call him now, a body man.
In England, they call him a gentleman's gentleman, but that doesn't apply to Donald Trump.
No, that's that is your picture book definition of a spank boy. Go get me Diet Cokes. Go get me coffee. Go get me this. Go get me that. I'm going to the bathroom. Wipe my butt. That's a spank boy. That's exactly it. You do anything somebody else wants, or you get spanked.
The phrase that Trump uses when he's ordering Cokes is, "Can we get some Cokes in here?" He learned that from the Hollywood guys. Can we get coffee around? Can we get water? Anybody need water? Anybody need a pick me up?
Well, he's such a Hollywood guy. Trump is.
Oh, they love him there. He was welcomed with open arms.
They're fighting for who is going to be
who gets to go on the bus
to make that movie.
Planet Hollywood.
Who would play Donald? Who would play a young Donald Trump, and who would play an older Donald Trump?
I'm thinking Steve Buscemi all the way.
Nah, too short. First of all, and the facial.
It's coming to Dolph Lundgren. There you go.
How about Ryan Reynolds for a young Trump?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Why ruin his career? But okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You know what? That's when you got to fight. Why not just let Trump play Trump?
Both old and new.
Right. And then they'll have him at the end. They'll have him just like Michael Corleone. Sitting in the chair in the garden in Italy and just
right into the tomatoes.
Out of the picture. No, that was the father. That was Don. That was Vito.
Brando took down the sheets and landed in the tomatoes.
He took down the covers. He took down the covers, the tomatoes, 3 zucchinis, and 4 guys in the Bronx.
And it was a nice day in the garden. It was a shame he died. It was a beautiful day.
Yep. You remember those things? The thing used to put the pesticide in it.
Yeah, it didn't have a name. You didn't know what you were spraying, and there was no number. There's no 800 number on television to get involved with in case there was too much Roundup in your driveway.
There was no 800 number anywhere. You didn't have 800 numbers. You had to call the hardware.
What would it be like to go back to 1957 and dial an 800 number and see what you get? Would you get the future?
Get anything. You'd have an operator on the other end going, "What the hell are you doing? 800."
What's with the 800 business?
I mean, you probably would have had to go. Well, when did they start doing direct dialing long distance? That had to be like 1965.
Without an assistant,
right? Before that, you dialed the operator, or long. Yeah, you dialed the operator, and you got long distance.
I'm calling Schenectady. I'm sorry, sir, we don't have service to Schenectady. Well, when you do, will you call me?
Or you would get, I know a lot of times because we used to call my grandfather in Florida, you would get the lines are all full.
The
Try
lines are
again in
full.
10 minutes, or try again in a half hour, or try again. There was only so many lines that they could connect from New York to Florida.
What does a line look like when it gets full? Can you imagine that?
Well, I actually know this because my ex-wife worked in the telephone frames on Geary Boulevard, where they actually connected the calls. At one
Wow.
time, you had all of the operators would sit in there, and you would and each operator would be at an exchange. So you'd have, let's say, Yellowstone 5,
Right.
and she would have a certain amount of numbers of Yellowstone 5, and you pull the cord out and connect it into a trunk line, which led to that phone. That's how they connected them. So there were certain long distance lines. There was a long distance operator, and she would get the call. You dial 0, the long distance operator, please. They transfer you, and she would have X amount of lines to go to this city, and then the lines from that city go to another city, and then the lines from that city go to Florida.
So she would take a glance and see if the lines were full or not. She would
Right,
have the
and it'd be
opportunity.
little lights over each. It's like the whole
Right.
thing where you pull out I forget what they call it. Is that an RCA plug? I guess
Yes.
you call that. Yeah, the RCA plug, and you put it in the hole, and then you connect to people.
Same thing you use for a Fender guitar.
Yeah, same plug. It was that same huge, big, I don't know, inch and a half. Is it inch and a
Except
quarter?
when Jimmy Page plugs in his RCA, he gets a different line altogether.
Yeah, yeah,
You
but
might get Schenectady, but you might get something else.
you might get someplace that don't exist yet.
That's my point. If you call 800 in 1957, you got to go somewhere. Would you go to the future?
Uh,
Doubtful.
would I rather go to the future or go to 1957? Is that the question?
If you were in 1957 and you plugged it, you dialed out an 800 number, would you in fact call the future?
No, because there would be nothing. There would be the operator would look at you like you were talking Italian to her. She'd have no. She'd have no idea. She'd
It
be
says
going,
Italia.
oh yeah, see, that's right. That's right. Probably where I got it from.
My sister Diana got this for me in the old country.
I like that.
I like that too.
I, I don't know. I mean, if you said an 800 number in 57, they would go, "What are you talking about?" I mean, think 57. They hadn't even launched the first satellite yet.
It's true.
Now,
They barely had 57 Chevys.
yeah. I mean, they hadn't even launched. Sputnik was launched in 57, wasn't it?
57 or 59, I can't recall which.
Yeah, I think Sputnik was launched in 57 or 59. Yeah, and that was the first satellite. And we didn't the Bell satellites, the first communication satellites. Again, I don't think were launched until 64 or 65.
After the Russians sent up Sputnik, they sent up dogs, and one of them was Laika. Why I remember that dog's name, I don't know. Except that Laika was sort of a husky poi dog mix and wore a little helmet with his ears sticking through it. Wore a little cosmonaut helmet as he walked around in the capsule. Now, what happened to Laika? Did he come back to Earth safely? Did he resume his life as a dog?
Did, yeah. I think because if they would have came back dead, they probably wouldn't have had a space program. We probably just would have stayed, just building freeways.
Well, they have a space program now, but every once in a while, guys turn up dead, like on the ground outside of St. Petersburg.
Well, yeah. Well, that's not the space program. That's the "Don't Screw with Putin" program.
That's some make some space program.
Yeah, Sputnik 1 was launched on October 4th, 1957.
Good job, Vin. We're coming up to the anniversary between now and your birthday. No, your birthday's first.
Yeah, my birthday's first. Now I just want to see first U.S. communications. Because, I mean, we take it all for granted today, with the cell phones and everything like that. But excuse me 1 second.
Well, if you
All right.
recall, when they started talking about satellite radio, they said, "You mean you can get it everywhere?" Yeah, because we're going to broadcast it off satellites. Well, where are the satellites? Well, we're going to launch them. Ha! That's never going to happen. Launch a satellite, pull the other one,
All
and
right.
now you think of it as nothing but turning
Yeah.
on your radio.
All right. I'm going to give you a clue as to the name of and the date of the first United States communications satellite that was a cooperative effort between AT&T and NASA. Okay, you
I have
ready?
to guess the name and the date.
No, you can. The date might be a little tough, but you have to guess the name, and you should get the name from what I tell you. You ready?
Okay, ready.
Da 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 da.
Jeopardy?
No, Telstar.
Oh, Telstar. Oh.
It was like the only rock and roll group that performed on the Lawrence Welk show.
All you had to do was say the Ventures, and I would have got that.
No, who did Telstar?
Oh, it was a studio group whose
Yeah,
name was
yeah. It
the
was a bunch of LA studio guys.
probably the Wrecking Crew.
No, well, but
But who was on guitar? Billy Strange or Al Caiola?
now I got to know. Oh, it was 1962. Um, and oh, come on, it's right on the tip of my tongue. As soon as I see it,
What are you searching?
the Tornadoes.
The Tornadoes.
The Tornadoes, and then done. Matter of fact, done by a number of groups. Done by the Ventures in 1963. Done by the Spotniks in 1978. I remember we had a record of KUSF, The Shadows in 1981. And just so you can let's take this. Let's go with the Tornadoes Ventures because that's the original. There's a great clip of them.
What happens when the prostate enlarges and the urine channel gets tight? If you have an enlarged...
What happens when the prostate's... Could you hear that?
You get a tornado. You know, Vinnie, I was totally wrong. It was not the Wrecking Crew. The Tornadoes were the brothers Gerald and Norman Sanders, their cousin Jesse Sanders on rhythm guitar, Leonard Delaney on drums, and Joe Willenberg on saxophone. The Tornadoes were an actual band.
Yeah.
And it was not made up of studio musicians at all.
See, I always thought they were a bunch of LA studio guys, but there's a great picture of them if you go to
I got it. Yeah, there they are holding their fenders.
Yeah.
Wow. Now that's a picture that was taken by every band with the collarless surf jackets. And everybody
there's a picture on the one that I was looking at that was put up by the Old Record Club. Was number one in UK and US in the same week. This is pre-Beatles. And they're standing in front of a theater in France somewhere, and Little Ava, the Tornadoes, and Sylvie Vartan.
Who?
Sylvie Vartan.
Must have been a French artist.
She's a French. She is. I happen to be familiar with her. She is a French artist. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of her records. She's a French artist that I knew nothing about until my brother started going out with a woman that grew up in Marseille.
Tough town, Marseille.
And her favorite artist was Sylvie Vartan, and she gave me a couple of Sylvie Vartan records. And I think Sylvie may still be. I mean, she was like kind of the Brigitte Bardot of France. I mean, she was.
I pictured her as the Leslie Gore of France.
No, Leslie Gore. See, Leslie Gore. She was. I think Sylvie Vartan was married to Johnny Thunders.
Oh, really?
If I'm not, boy, I know there's a connection there. So wait, let me look.
Oh,
Real
I
quick.
drove by the Honda, the not the Honda, the Fonda Theater here in LA, where they have live music, and Johnny Hallyday was playing there, and you
That
saw,
might be who she was married to, not Johnny Thunders, but Johnny Holiday.
and Johnny Hallyday played the Fonda Theater in Hollywood, and if you could have seen the crowd in the streets, they were all 60 something, 70 something rockers with leather and chains and their sleeves rolled up and their corkscrew hairdo and their faux French rock and roll outfits from the 50s. It was a wild scene. It was absolutely beautiful. It was an expedition back in time.
Yeah, Sylvie Vartan was. Wait, where is the? I'm looking for the. I punched in. I got YouTube. Here's something from the 1960s.
If you live in
Oh,
Washington,
stop
you
it.
could lower your electric bill to less than $30 a month by installing
Yeah,
solar.
by shutting off your lights. Do you hear that?
3 great chords.
Yeah,
Regarde un peu ce beau garçon, je voudrais bien connaître son nom.
Oh, wow.
Est-ce que tu le sais? Dis-moi. Oh, crois-tu qu'il m'a remarqué? Crois-tu qu'il aimerait m'embrasser? Oh, est-ce que tu le sais?
She's got a good voice.
Tu le sais? Dis-moi. Oh, pourrais-tu m'expliquer? On dirait qu'il m'a pas remarqué. Oh,
I like the echo in that French studio.
yeah, she's much. That's actually a live performance. It looks like live TV performance. You don't hear many female singers taking on What I Say.
Nope.
No, it's not a. It's not a. And she's got 4 guys that are standing up performing. Playing instruments, and then she's got like one dancer on stage. Really great clip. But Sylvie, yes, was married to Johnny Halliday.
Johnny's still a big deal.
Yeah.
I think he's still alive.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's still alive too. Maybe they're still married. Who knows? But excuse me. Yeah, but Sylvie wasn't see Leslie Gore. There was she was more of a maybe Joni Summers.
Mm-hmm.
Who else would be in that category? That early '60s female
Shelley Fabares.
Fabares, right. Shelley Fabares. More in that early '60s female singer category. Leslie she was that, but there was more. You could see there was more coming. She was also Sylvie. I don't know. She seemed to be more she was softer than Leslie had an edge to her.
Yeah.
Even our songs had a, maybe I know that he's been a change. And of course, You Don't Own Me, which became, a women's liberation anthem, 5 years before women's liberation.
You're not the boss of me.
Right. Right. You don't own me. Don't put me on display. Still, in my opinion, one of the top 10 songs in rock and roll history.
One that I love that came from a crossover artist named Skeeter Davis, whose whole career was in country music, was "Don't They Know It's Into the World." That was a real killer, and that's been remade a couple times with great effect. But Skeeter did the best job on it.
Skeeter did a song. I'm trying to think of if she did it with somebody. she did a song that I'm trying to get this straight in my head, but she did it with Skeeter Davis, and I'm trying to think if it's Porter Wagoner.
He
And
did.
it was
He did sing
Dolly
with females a lot, including Dolly Parton.
but it was one of those. It was one of those songs. Anyway, it was re-recorded. It was written by Tony Wine and Irwin Levine, but it was done. Oh crap! That Johnny Maestro and the Brooklyn Bridge had a hit
Yeah.
with it in '67. Skeeter Davis had a hit with it. Bobby Bear and Skeeter Davis.
Oh, Bobby, Detroit City.
Right. Bobby Bear and Skeeter Davis did it, and did a version of it also. I guess they covered it. So who you call it? Brooklyn Bridge had the hit.
What's the song?
Matter of fact, I saw them sing it on the Mike Douglas show.
Wow, good memory.
Mike Douglas, if you want to go back and look at cool 60s and 70s rock and roll clips,
He had Moby Grape.
he had everybody. He had everybody. And the funniest part of this whole thing with the Brooklyn Bridge is he's got the Brooklyn Bridge on. And Mike Douglas is playing it straight. He's not a hip dude, and he knows it.
Right.
So between songs, the way they would do it on the Mike Douglas show is the band would come on, and Mike would walk over and do a quick, interview with the band.
How'd you guys get together?
Yeah, how'd you guys get together? You all travel together. So of course, in the day, now it's 1969, 68, whatever it is, 67. There's one woman in the band. So Mike turns to the woman and says, do you travel with these guys?
Up to a point.
And she just smiles at him because already she knows his point, And he says something like separate rooms, I'm sure, right? So, but the best part is he brings Norm Crosby over with him. Remember Norm Crosby, the comedian?
Of course.
He brings Norm Crosby. Crosby looks at him and he just says, I'll tell you what, they ain't seen a barber in a long time.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you for that.
It's one of the truly most embarrassing television clips you will ever see in your life.
Does he talk to Maestro at all?
Yeah, he talks to Johnny Maestro. He asks him about the Jimmy Webb song, "The Worst That Could Happen," because that's the first one they sing. And then he asks him if he writes his own music. And then Johnny says, "No, this one's written by Tony Wine, and I forget the country artist or And so, all right, go ahead, dude. Yeah, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Brooklyn Bridge, and Mike Douglas and Norm Crosby go back to laugh at their insane jokes with the Brooklyn Bridge.
That really went well, Norm. That's what Mike tells him.
I never was a big fan of Norm Crosby to begin with.
He's not that funny.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that in Hollywood in the 60s, there was guys that could act and guys that could do things, be funny. And then there was guys that wormed their way in. They were maybe funny enough for a club.
Like Joey Bishop. What the hell did he do to get in the show business?
That was exactly who I was thinking of. I mean, I've seen Joey Bishop. I've seen the Joey Bishop show, the sitcom that he had with Corbett Monica and Abby Dalton, one of the underrated beautiful women of all time. And he wasn't funny there.
No.
Oh, and who was the guy? The maintenance guy in the building was Joe Besser.
You nasty man.
You you hit me.
I'm with you.
I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Bishop. No, they wouldn't let him be Bishop. He was Joey Barnes.
Oh God.
Joey Barnes was his, and it was a direct knockoff of the Danny Thomas show, except they had no kids.
They didn't have St. Jude Hospital.
Yeah, they had and who was they had a maid, a housekeeper, and who was Mary Troon.
God, what a memory you have.
And you probably don't know what you know her, but if I tell you her name, you won't know. But if you see her face, she was in every 60s sitcom from Andy Griffith up to Bewitched. I mean, she was in all of them. And anyway, but there was a class of guys and women, but mostly guys like Charo. What talent did Charo really have? When she would be on the Merv Griffin.
She didn't even play the maracas that well. The Hoochie Coochie thing didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, she had the dog. Monty Rock III.
And Xavier Cugat carried the dog sometimes.
Yeah, Coogie always carried. And who was the other? Monty Rock III. Remember him?
Unknown talent. I do remember him on the Tonight Show. Who
actually had a hit record with Discotheques and the Sexolettes in the 70s. Doop 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 doop. Get Dancing, I think, was the name of the song. But there was this class of person. Nowadays, to get on a talker, whenever they come back, you have to be somebody. Pretty much. You had to either have to do something or that. And Carson had a couple of those guys on, but they were mostly fodder for Merv Griffin, Joey Bishop when he had the show. Who else? Mike Douglas.
The same guys who would have on Tiny Tim and blow the interview.
Right. Exactly. I think, and at least Tiny Tim had talent, had a shtick.
He had shtick.
He had a shtick. He was Weird Al Yankovic before Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, true.
He figured out.
Not as stable as Weird Al.
Right. And people forget that, or don't know, that Tiny Tim wedding was before the last episode of MASH, I believe, was the most watched non-sports show in the history of television. That's
what Johnny Carson had on his gravestone. I televised.
I'm responsible for Tiny Tim.
And his ill-fated marriage.
To Miss Vicky.
Yeah.
Boy, there's a wedding night I would have liked to see on surveillance video.
And what is your first name? Miss.
Miss.
Oh, so Vicky's the last name, I see.
Yes. Would you sign your register, please? And your name? Tim. Tiny Tim.
It's like Bond, James Bond. Tim, Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim. Oh my God!
Wasn't tiny. You couldn't get him in the closet. It was just he was a big Hungarian mess.
That's our history lesson for the morning, folks. What did you think of the debate?
Kristen fell asleep for the debate. She wanted me to turn it on, but I had to go to Fox News to do it, and I realized that I hadn't watched Fox News since before Donald Trump was president, and I didn't want to break my record. But I figured that for this show, I better tune in, and I saw the last 30 seconds of it or whatever, the tail end. So I didn't see all the nonsense. And the part that I really wish I had seen, I saw in highlights, and that's when Christie of New Jersey says, "I get the UFO question." That's what you give me? I get the UFO question? You got nothing else? You got nothing back there for me? I pledge honesty on the UFO question. When I become president, I'll tell everybody what we know about UFOs. How's that? Good. All right.
Yeah, I watched most. It took my TV about 11 times to get to Fox. It just kept going past it.
It wouldn't go.
It wouldn't go. It wouldn't go. Boom, 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 boom. Um, and it was interesting. I mean, you know, either Ramaswamy is being paid by Trump, or we got to watch out for this guy.
Oh, you got to watch out for him because he believes nothing that he says, but he's just willing to talk on ad infinitum. Whatever you want to discuss, he's got an opinion. Whatever you want to say, he'll agree or disagree right off the top of his head. No thought whatsoever.
You would not want to be at a party with this guy. This is a guy that if he was in the living room at a party, you would head to the kitchen. If he was in the kitchen, you would head to the bedroom. If he was in the bedroom, you'd get your coat and you'd get out of
And
there.
you get out of there. Just came to get my coat. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about him is CNN the night before the debate completely painted him into a corner. They asked him about his comments about 9/11, where government agents were on the planes. How many government agents is what he wanted to know were on the planes. And why would a government agent be on the plane if he knew it was going to crash into the World Trade Center? How that gets explained or how that gets figured out in the scheme of things was never even mentioned. But he told the CNN anchor that it was a complete lie. They had misrepresented his comments. They had misquoted him. They had refused to send him the tape. And CNN said, well, they sent it to us. We've got the tape. So let's listen to it. After they talked him into lying about the situation. And they played the tape. And he said exactly what the article in Atlantic said he said, in exactly the same way, with that inference, with no mistake about it. And so my image of him from the day before the debate was he's an untrustworthy individual. He's a slimy bastard that's just after a few bucks. And he is a liar that's willing to lie in the face of the evidence that proves him a liar.
Right, which would make him another Donald Trump.
There you go, a Trumpian.
Yeah, a Trumpian. I mean, it's
and he's still a climate denier.
Yeah. Well, most of them are. Most of them are. I mean, unfortunately, the way you appeal to the Republican Party today is acknowledge at least one or two conspiracy theories. Pick one. You don't have to pick all of them.
I like the John Kennedy Jr. still alive in Dallas and cleaning his gun and getting ready to get into the action.
Right. He's going to show up in Dealey Plaza.
Yep.
Yeah. That passed already. But that kind of crap is what we now see from the Republican Party. I thought Nikki Haley did a nice job. I thought Chris Christie did a nice job. I like Chris Christie. If I had to vote for one of them, out of all of them, he'd be the guy I would vote for. But I don't think he's going to get any traction at all. He's gone down since the debate.
Well, one thing that Fox is willing to do is have the debates, but also have a hostile audience in the debates. Right. They don't have to make any editorial comment. The audience is following along on every word, booing where appropriate, jeering as they go. And if that's the way the rest of the debate, I hope the Democratic debate doesn't descend into that kind of nonsense.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a Democrat. Who's going to debate? What is Biden going to go out there and debate himself?
Well, he will join in a debate with a Republican candidate.
Oh yeah, at that point. But I don't think that'll be on Fox. I think that'll be on CBS or ABC or PBS.
I was wondering why nobody carried it but Fox, and I guess it's because it's so early in the game. There wasn't anything. There was no risk in not carrying it.
I think they get exclusive rights. I think that they have the Fox has the exclusive rights to the Republican debates.
All of them? I
think so.
Well, they can pretty much run that the way they want. Then they can just start.
Yeah. Well, look at the two people they put out there, bro. I mean, Barbie and Ken. Did nothing to quiet the crowd down.
They turned around once.
Yeah. I mean, it was embarrassing, but That's that's the Republican Party today.
It's a carnival atmosphere.
That's exactly what it is. That's what it's turned into. It's turned into a circus.
And it's also turned into a dare me, because I say Donald Trump gets his birthday celebrated by America every year. Who's with me? Raise your hand. And they all have to join in or be booed off the stage.
I mean, at least, what it did show to me is DeSantis is not going to be there. DeSantis is going to get trounced.
He's gonna get on a small plane headed for St. Petersburg. Won't be long.
He should take a train wherever he's going, because it's much more expensive to blow up a train than it is a plane. I just don't. DeSantis he doesn't look presidential.
He doesn't look like
full-time governor. You know, he looks like George Wallace.
You know who he looks like is Jimmy Hoffa in those go-go boots. That's who he looks like.
Yeah. Maybe that's where Jimmy is in his go-go boots. He just looked like a non-contender.
He's like the student body president that's no good in front of a crowd, so he's just a schlemiel every time he gets up to make a speech.
Yeah, he's got a card, and he sticks to the card, and he doesn't say anything that's off the card.
He can't speak into the microphone. He can't look into the camera, and he can't control his facial comportment when he's making a point.
Right, and I think a candidate for president has to, at the very least, think on his feet.
Nope, can't think on these go-go boots. If he could think of his feet, would he have worn those white go-go boots?
Probably not. Probably not. No, those were a poor choice. So
it makes you wonder what the people of Florida saw in Ron DeSantis, because he's no good at campaigning.
And look at how he screwed up the state.
Next to Mars, it's the most crazy place on the planet.
I mean, he's got Disney wanting to leave. He's got Disney thinking, what do we need this for? We'll pack up our stuff and put it in Georgia.
Right across the border.
We'll buy south of the border in Dillon, South Carolina, with the big sombrero and everything.
I don't know why they don't do that, to tell you the truth. They're hoping the next governor is going to be more friendly to their business plans. And what was in Orlando before the Disney got there anyway? I mean, this was not a going concern.
Swamps.
Orlando's still a mess. It's just a sprawl, uncontrolled, unfocused sprawl.
Yeah. I mean, that whole area.
It's a place to rent your car if you go to Disneyland.
Yeah, they got now. It's got Universal and this and that, but he's clearly making business. Has made a business environment in Florida for those people that they can't rely on.
They can rely on it to be hostile, to get them into court, to challenge all the workings of their previous agreements. So
all of these Republicans that have always said, well, we want to work with business, we want to do this, we want to do that, they're full of crap.
No, everything is based on cult belief, cult action, and no platform. We don't believe in anything.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, it really is. It's you're just.
And Donald Trump, their candidate, said live on television yesterday that he had never heard the word mugshot. Donnie from Queens, grew up in New York, never heard the word mugshot ever.
How many times do you think he laughed at somebody else's mugshot in his life?
He got a good one. He looked angry, pissed off, and slightly deranged.
He did not look happy. But I think that's what they were looking for, to be honest with you. They probably took it. They probably took it 3 times.
That's Skeeter Davis. I'm away from my desk.
Yeah, no, she's I don't know if Skeeter Davis would be calling us.
What was the song she sang with Bobby Bear, by the way? We never got there.
Your Husband, My Wife.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Your Husband, My Wife. Bobby Bear, Skeeter Davis, 1969. that was done by the Brooklyn Bridge in
Yeah.
1968 or 67. But
Johnny knew his audience, that emotional Brooklyn audience.
Johnny was great. Johnny was he had a voice that was unbelievable. I mean, from the Crests through the his solo stuff to the Brooklyn Bridge, all of his stuff. I mean, you listen to the Brooklyn Bridge, and I mean, it's a choir.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not just a band. It's not just a band. It's a choir. And it's a funny thing. Johnny Maestro probably was one of the most loved guys. I mean, he knew the guys. I mean, he's from Staten Island. He knew the deal with the guys. But every year, Johnny Maestro would throw a picnic, and he would invite all of the people who were in the Crests, the Brooklyn Bridge, produced his records, A&R guys, the whole deal,
For a sing-along.
for a big picnic and out in Staten Island. And they'd go and they'd cater it and everything, or they'd go to his house or something like that. There's actually a Johnny Maestro street in Staten Island.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they renamed the street that he grew up in Johnny Maestro Way. But they also have in Staten Island, what is it? An Abbey Road next to each other, concurrent streets, Abbey Road, Lennon Street, and McCartney Street.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that of Staten Island. Very good on them.
Yeah, they have it's three consecutive streets. So that's kind of cool.
Hey, I was going to ask you here in my notes about the fires in Washington. What's going on?
Still raging, not as bad as they were. It's overcast today. I don't know. I looked at the stuff last night, and they're tamping stuff down, but there's still some burning going on out there. But it's it's pretty much over. Tons of people are out of their houses. Tons of people are, lost everything.
Medicine Lake.
Yeah, Medical Lake is destroyed. Many houses out there. So the Canada wildfires keep going.
They're huge. And those forests are huge.
And they were going to pull the Canadian. See, this is what I mean about people. You think that this is just going on here in the United States, right? But they got loonies up there, too.
So it was started?
So, no. They're fighting the fires up there, right? So they have they have this thing. I don't know if you remember this. They had this truckers brigade. Remember that?
Oh yes.
COVID was going on, and well, there's a movement that's grown out of that. So a bunch of these people, these trucker brigade, whatever they are, people, from what I understand, drive up to where the firefighters are, and they want to go in the area because they don't think the firefighters are doing the job right.
Oh, of course. So they're there to supervise.
And the RCMP tells them, no, we're not letting you in. They said, well, we have a right to go in.
No, you don't.
They said, okay, you want to go in? The head of the BC wildfires thing says, okay, 12 o'clock this afternoon, we're pulling all the firefighters out.
You guys take over.
You guys can take over. We're pulling everybody out. We're not going to have these idiots in there while these guys are trying to fight the fires.
How did that work out?
The brigade there, whatever they are, the trucker brigade, the bunch of idiots. And, they look the same as the Trump people here.
I know.
They look exactly the same. They got the same freaking tattoos, the same, the same MO, the same, I got a right to do this, I got a right to do that. And in Canada, they handle it very good. They said, "Listen, you're right. You got a right to do that." And you have more people than we do, the police.
Go
So
to
we're
it.
just going to pull everybody out, and you can go in there and do what you want to do. And all of a sudden, the people that live there started saying, "These people aren't even from here. They're not even from here. They drove up from Alberta, Saskatchewan, someplace else." And they want to go and tell the BC people what to do. All the people said, "Get them out of here." And the cops shoot them off. The psychos.
They should let them fight that fire for about an hour. And with the shovel, you come to a realization that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Wouldn't take you an hour. All these hump. I don't know. I almost said a really bad word. All these people, these idiots that think they know more. See, this is the social media thing.
We got it figured out. We got it all figured out.
This is the social media thing. We think we know more than the people that are experts. That's the pandemic. That was the pandemic. We know more. Some guy sitting in his basement in screw you, Louisiana,
has figured out 9/11 and is telling everybody.
Has figured out what scientists and investigators and people who've gone to forensic school and everything else couldn't figure out. This guy in his basement with a computer has figured it out. And he puts it on Facebook or he puts it on some website, and the next thing you know, you got a gazillion idiots that look at it and go, "Oh, wow, the mainstream media won't tell me that."
There aren't any fires in Canada. They're just making smoke machines to get people out of their homes.
We're not going to be here to see it, Michael. But I predict there's going to be a day when they shut all of the social media stuff off. There's going to come a day
to do it.
Where we're going to look at this, where they're going to look at the stuff and they're going to say it's just too much trouble.
Too much poison.
Too much poison. Everybody deserves to be heard, but everybody doesn't deserve to be believed.
Here's a local story for you that could only happen in L.A.
Okay.
An ex-cop goes into a biker bar.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Intending to kill his wife, who he's estranged from. She hangs out at the biker bar called Cook's Corner in Trabuco Canyon, Orange County. And he starts shooting, because he's an ex-cop, he doesn't know how to use his gun, so he starts shooting wildly. He kills 3, wounds 6, and he was killed himself. So it was really quite a night for the ex-cop. He just had a moment or two, got out of his uniform, and here he comes on his bike. And he ruined the evening of what was an otherwise normal biker bar. Everybody's sitting around drinking beer and talking about motorcycles.
Well, now, I don't know if you know the place. I've actually watched, I actually watched it live the other night while it was going on. And I guess this Cook's Corner is a place that was a biker bar in the 50s and the 60s.
Since forever. Right from the beginning of the Hells Angels out in San Bernardino.
Right. But I guess the head of the Orange County Sheriff's Department, Orange County Sheriff, was saying that it was actually a community kind of meeting place. There was a lot of bikes there because that's what people do in the summer. But it wasn't, everybody thought, well, biker bar, guy, it was much different. It was a family place and this kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm not down there.
It's it's not some place that a tourist would have trouble going into. In fact, they would choose to go there to get a Cook's Corner T-shirt or something.
Right, you're right. If you were visiting that area, that's where somebody would tell you to go for lunch.
You got to go to Cook's Corner and get the patty melt.
Right, that was the thing. Yeah, try. I mean, again, here we go. But again, what possesses a guy to get in his car, drive from Ohio, because that's where he was living now.
Yeah, he was an ex-cop from Ventura County.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Oh, it was simple. I was going to kill my wife. You couldn't wait.
Yeah.
You couldn't wait no, you wanted to kill everybody in
I
the
just,
bar?
I just, if I live to be 1,000, I'll never understand it. As screwed up as things can be, you got a beef with your wife, you walk away, man.
And if you're a cop, did it never occur to him anywhere along the line that this was not a plan that was going to work? I'm going in the bar. I'm going in. I guess I hope I find her. I think she's there. If not, I'll just kill 3 other people.
Well, I have a much better police story for you.
Let's hear
Not
it.
better, from New York City. The New York City police have suspended a sergeant in the Bronx for stopping a fleeing drug dealer who was on an e-bike or a scooter by picking up a cooler and throwing it at him.
I'm okay with that.
Evidently, this guy's dealing drugs up on 190th Street in the Bronx. Okay? He's on the corner. The narcotics squad has got him under surveillance. He sells some drugs to a cop. So
That
they
should do
move
it.
in on him.
That should do it.
Right. So they move in on him. All right. Scumbag drug dealer on the street selling drugs in the middle of the day to anybody who wants to buy drugs, kids, and So the drug dealer, somebody hands the drug dealer, this guy, Eric Dupre is his name.
No, that's a name out of a Steely Dan song.
I know. Jumps on a scooter and takes off. And the narcotic cop starts chasing him. So he goes up one street, down another street. The narcotics guy is chasing, a couple other units are chasing him. He's on the sidewalk, from what this says. He's headed toward this group of 10 people that are sitting on the sidewalk, and I guess it was a table of a restaurant or something like that, or out on the stoop. People in the summer, they go out in the street in New York. They hang out on the sidewalk. They drink and, socialize. So the sergeant sees this guy headed toward these, and this is according to the New York Times, sees the guy headed toward this group of 10 people. He's next to a cooler. He picks up the cooler, one of them big white coolers, and he throws it at the guy. And the guy goes down, hits a tree, a Jeep Cherokee, and something else, and gets hurt. Meanwhile, the cops, go over to him. They call the ambulance, but the guy dies.
Ooh.
So,
and
he
the
lost
cop gets
control, hit a
suspended.
tree, Jeep Cherokee, then it tipped over, fell to the ground. Surrounding officers rushed over to him, called for an ambulance. Emergency service workers arrived at 5:31 p.m. So this guy's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's out there selling drugs on the street.
It's the
I don't know
home.
what kind of drugs, they haven't said.
It's the commuter
4 minutes
special.
later, he was pronounced dead. So they now have suspended this guy for 30 days, this cop, Sergeant Duran. He's assigned to Narcotics Bureau Bronx for nearly a year. A lot of cops are pissed off because they say the sergeant had attempted to make a lawful arrest, and using a cooler to stop Dupre can be equal to closing the door and stopping from leaving. Meanwhile, they have erected a memorial to the drug dealer.
Of course.
And his wife is out there sitting next to the memorial crying for justice.
Well,
I got to be honest with you, Michael.
I got to go with the cop. I didn't see it, but I got to go with the cop.
Yeah. It says officers are supposed to be protecting people, not killing people for no reason. She said, I want justice for my husband. You know what? Shut your trap, lady. Go bury your husband. And I'm sorry, but throwing a cooler at something. If this guy's running from the cops and he's on a sidewalk, now if the guy was going down the Grand Central Parkway and the cop reached into the back of his car and threw his lunch bag at him to stop him, I would say, you know what? That's pretty bad. But I don't think there's an expectation that when you throw a cooler at somebody, you're going to kill him. You're trying to stop.
It sounds like the crash killed him, but who knows?
Yeah, he could have shot the guy, right? Could have pulled his gun out and shot him.
That would have caused no stir whatsoever in L.A.
But instead, he throws the car. I'm sorry.
If you're a drug dealer on the run and you're running from the LAPD, count on them shooting you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but you got to go with the cop here. You got.
Did they suspend him only because there was a death involved?
No, because now the state attorney general is going to investigate it.
Well, I wonder if there's video of it.
Yeah, there is, actually. I haven't seen it, but the New York Times says that there is surveillance video of it. Now, where this happened, Aqueduct Avenue is it's a business and neighborhood.
Otherwise, there wouldn't have been people on the street with a cooler.
Right. So, I got to be honest with you. Got no problem with it. Sorry.
So many times cops are involved in violent arrests that result in someone's death, and there are no suspensions, no problems, no names released, no information given to the press. And in this case, it seems like we got the whole story, but it doesn't make sense that the crime doesn't seem to fit the police. What's the word? Police incident.
Right. The use of force doesn't equal a crime.
And the use of force in someone who's trying to escape on a stolen scooter has to be expected.
Right. And also in a resident. Now, again, like I said, if he's going down the Grand Central Parkway and you're chasing him and you throw a cooler out of the car or a lunch bag or something like that, you knock him off and you kill him. Yeah, maybe that's a little too much. But, I just get to the point where sometimes you just get, listen, the cops aren't perfect. We know that. We know that there's cops that do their stuff like it shouldn't be done, who work under their own rules instead of the rules that are supposed to be.
Well, if this is on video, I think you'll get off.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking for the video today to see if the other thing that I like with with the cops, maybe the cops are going to have to join SAG-AFTRA.
Okay, they were acting their parts too well.
No, the police unions are increasingly demanding pay raises for the cops for recording with their cameras.
Aha.
So maybe SAG-AFTRA ought to get down there and start recruiting these cops into their union too.
By the way, there was a twist in the writers' strike, which is over 100 days long. The studios
I saw that. What was the deal with that?
The studios made an offer. They had conversations with the writers, and they made a series of not final but substantive offers trying to get the talk started, and the writers rejected them. So against their previous agreement, the studios released the terms of their offer, and that is turning out to be created a lot of bad blood. We're not going to publicize any of the offers until we get a deal. Agreed. And then they released the details of their offer in specific opposition to what they had previously agreed to. And they did it to make the writers look like they were not coming to the table.
The studio guys are playing hardball, man. The studios are, they're playing hardball and dirty. And listen, when haven't they played dirty?
From the beginning. This is a tradition that begins with Max Roach.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be in the movie?
You want to be in the Keystone Cops? Can you run all day? All day? Yeah, we're going to take this several times. But you guys run in here, then you run over there, then you run down the street, then you get in the car and you drive fast. Then some of you fall off. Then you get on a fire truck and you run through there. Then you run through and then you run at the end of the movie. You catch the guy and you stop running.
Yeah, it's a little. I just I sympathize for the people who I sympathize with the union. I mean, it says it right there. Support SAG after WGA. These guys make billions of dollars, man. Billions. It's not. You think anybody is involved with that Barbie movie, which is becoming the highest grossing movie, which tells you something else about America, I guess. Except that, you know what? It's fun, mindless entertainment, and maybe
I have an 8-year-old that saw it.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need, right? Maybe we need more Boeings in our lives. You know, maybe we need some of those.
Well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with profits, but if you're not willing to pay the talent that puts it together,
Right? Because
and it's everybody. It's think of all the special effects that were in Barbie.
yeah,
Where
I
did,
mean,
where
it's
did they
the
come from?
writers, it's the crafts people, it's the the grips. I mean, it's not just. I mean, we're not just talking about actors. This is the union that's on strike, but you just don't take your phone out and make a movie. Anybody who's ever been in one will tell you it's a long, hard, tedious process, even if you're an extra in a movie.
It's like a city comes alive with whole new people doing all the parts to make it work.
Right. And it's and again, this is an obscene thing in America that we have, where you have all these people, all these people making all of this money, and the people that they make the money on the backs of, it's not fairly and equitably distributed.
And Vinnie, the people who are denying the actors and the writers a fair contract do not make movies. They're in the movie business, but they cannot make a movie. They cannot write a movie. They cannot act in a movie. They cannot produce a movie. They cannot construct what the great working city that makes a full first-rate feature.
They're nothing without these people. So pay them and let them share in the profits.
That's part of their resentment. We make the money, you make the movies.
There's more. There's enough to go around here. It's like baseball players, like baseball or football. There's enough to go around.
I got a baseball headline for you. Mitch Haniger, who came from Seattle to play for the San Francisco Giants in a trade this year, got hit by a pitch, broke his arm, been out all season. He's finally on a rehab trip to AAA Sacramento, and we hope to have his bat and his glove back in the lineup because, boy, do we need him. We need to win. We're playing 3 against Atlanta, and I don't have to tell you what that's going to be like. The only advantage is we're playing in San Francisco. So let's get our act together because the Giants are finding out new and exciting way to lose rather than new and exciting ways to win. And this is the wrong time of the year to be going into that kind of funk. We need to beat Atlanta 3 in a row.
Well, we got the Royals coming to town here over the weekend, and that should be.
They're not pushovers, but
they're not pushovers, but the Mariners seem to be able to handle them. So we'll see. This is one of those.
Let's sweep them.
Yeah, this will be one of those make or break. I think we can. Again, it's a weekend where if the Mariners can take 2 out of 3 or take all 3,
you're in business.
You're probably sitting at the top of the division.
Plus, you've got the respect of that you didn't have leading into this. People are watching the Mariners, but they don't know what they've got yet. Time to show them.
Right. Right. At this point, I think that they're a game back. They're tied with Houston. It's their final. It's their you're going into September now. The old thing that it's early, it ain't early anymore.
It ain't early.
That's when you get your bones.
It is many things, but it's no longer early.
No longer early. And there's just a lot There's, it's really shifts into playoff mode right now.
Yes.
It's a long playoff. Every pitch counts, every play counts, and this is a team I think, from what I see, is pretty loose, pretty happy. Have all come up with a good cohesive clubhouse and plan.
And these are innocent people who have never heard the word mugshot in their life. So
Right.
give them a break.
They've never heard the word mugshot. So I think that you had um
I wonder if Damon Runyon came up with that. He talked about people's mugs, and also another word he used for the face was the pan. He had a round pan, came from Brooklyn.
I never heard the word mugshot before. Are you really just freaking kidding me?
Donnie from Queens. Donnie, come on.
Donnie, sports talk caller Donnie from Queens. Hey, this is the fan, Donnie from Queens. You're on the air.
What's this double play you guys keep talking about? What's a double play? I've never heard the term.
Never heard the term. Never heard it before.
You play two? Is that when you play a double header? No, Donnie from Queens. That is not when you play two. It's when you get two outs.
It's as Donald Trump would say, it's sadly.
It's sadly, yeah.
It's sadly. All right, man.
Tell us about your show tomorrow, Ben.
Oh, we're gonna have a little radio show tomorrow morning at 8 called Drive Time. We talk about cars. I am I'm cruising in the the Mercedes EQE, which is their little electric SUV.
It must be nice.
Fine car, baby. This is a nice car. This is a beautiful car. So we'll talk about that.
I saw a Mercedes the other day that I'd never seen before. I thought it said it was a C900. Is that possible? Or was that a 300?
E300.
A C. C is in
catastrophic. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to look, to be honest.
It looked like a two-door. I'd never seen a C900.
Yeah, a coupe. A coupe.
A coupe.
But a 900. I don't know if there's a 9. Anyway, Mercedes. And you know what I like about this car, Michael? I got to tell you something. The gas pedal or the accelerator,
right,
and the brake pedal look like they're meaty. And you look at a car today and you look at the accelerator and brake pedal, and they look like they're like just little things, right?
Little feeble pedals.
This thing looks like it has a brake pedal from a truck and an accelerator pedal that has two huge bolts holding it into the floor.
There you go.
And I looked at that and I said, you know what? That makes me feel good. That they didn't come up with some cap. They didn't come up with some fancy fence. They have two case-hardened bolts holding this thing to the floor.
German engineering.
And I don't know why it made me feel so good to see that. But it made me feel good.
Because you have to use them. You have to go and you have to stop. And you want the big bolts to be involved.
You get in this car and you look at that brake pedal and you look at that accelerator pedal. And I'm telling you, you know in your heart that thing is not coming apart. You get to some of these other cars and you look at the brake pedal, and Volkswagen has one that in their electric, the power pedal is made to look like it's on a stereo where you push the play button.
Oh no!
Yeah. So I'm just putting a good word in for Mercedes here.
Does Volkswagen know we're actually using those instruments with our feet, not with our elbow or pinky?
Yeah. And the Volkswagen is a good car. Don't get me wrong, but the people at Mercedes, the engineers at Mercedes, looked at this car and they said, you know what? A Mercedes person is used to seeing a certain thing in a Mercedes, and that's a good gas pedal that's bolted to the floor, and a good brake pedal that you can find with your foot. Toot sweet.
It's comforting.
It's comforting. It's the first car I've gotten into in a long time where the brake pedal and the gas pedal made me feel comfortable.
Good point, Vin. That's not something that we see a lot of.
It's just something you don't see.
Tell the story of the pedal tomorrow on your show.
I will be telling the story of the pedal on the show. What are you doing this weekend? Watching baseball?
Possibly. I may go to a biker bar.
Don't.
But yeah, you're right.
I hear they're dangerous places.
I think I'll just go to a food truck and get some Japanese sushi.
Be careful of that too. Some pokey?
Yeah, man. It's going to be beautiful.
Groovy, baby. All right, man. I'm gonna blow. If the Lord's will and the creek don't rise, I'll see you Monday morning at 10:05.
Or maybe even 10:10. Don't expect us to be on time. We're the ones who made we're chasing somebody on a moped down the street in the Bronx.
I watch all these pursuit videos. I got to admit, I never seen a cop throw a cooler. I mean, I'm sorry the guy died. I mean, I'm sorry anybody died.
When you watch those chase videos, you find out that the pit maneuver is not a guarantee. You might you spin around the truck and he just keeps going.
Yeah, it just starts driving the other way. That's all. That pit maneuver. I don't know about that.
It doesn't care. I don't care where I'm going.
Bring back the old days when they shot. I watched the old Highway Patrol. Broderick Crawford just shoot him through the windshield.
But he would shoot like this. He would push the gun to make sure the bullet would get out. What's he doing? Don't interrupt him. 2150 by. Don't interrupt him.
2150 by. I'm shooting somebody. Leave me alone.
That's Broadway. Let him have it. Let's get this
thing done before he drinks his lunch. Ever arrested that didn't get shot?
No, got to shoot him.
All right, man. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. See you, Vinnie.
Thank you all for listening too, man. We'll see you on Monday and see you tomorrow morning for drive time. Take care, Mikey.